You very much, Rotarian Prabhu. My apologies that I haven't yet made into Rotary, but I'm in spirit a Rotarian because Roundtable India was born out of Rotary, and I headed Roundtable in India and also its parent association. So I feel a strong kinship to Rotary, and I do feel a sense of belonging. Which has been there since early 80s. And a big congratulations to Girish Bhai, as also I see other friends of mine. We had, and I also see Sergeant at Arms in your lineup. I used to be a Sergeant at Arms for Roundtable. So permit me a few lighter moments to begin. So I see Girish, Ram Sheshu, Suresh Hari. I also see Nilesh Kapse, Ashwini, Surender, Manoj, and various other roundtablers. So we used to have a joke, and please take it in that spirit. We used to say roundtablers retire at the age of 40 and they join Rotary. And in doing so, the average IQ of Roundtable and Rotary goes up every time this happens. So that was my pun in 1991. But it has to be taken as fun. I have huge respect and regard for Rotary. The first time I actually attended a program of Rotrack was when I was invited to play the flute at the age of 11 in Calcutta for a Rotrack function. And that was the first formal function that I attended in my life. And the impression is still fresh. And as you can imagine, for me to be convinced and cajoled to wear a tie on a Sunday evening, and I assure you, with reasonable pants below, can only be the power of Rotary. I've been asked by my friends, Girish, to speak on, and I'm just going to put a timer because I tend to ramble on forever, to talk about how to plan big and have a long path to fulfill it. I have to say, when I was going through the objective of Rotary and the mission, and especially what Rotary Club of Bangalore has been doing, this reminded me very much of my own journey in Roundtable, and whether it's the whole aspect of service through fellowship and the ethos of integrity and understanding and goodwill amongst well-meaning people is so basic as the earlier speaker, distinguished Dr. Mahesh, mentioned about the basics are a right of every human being in society. And on that, as I build on, I do want to start by reciting a small poem, which I had dared to write quite some time back. And it's called The Journey of a Common Man, which says, Mother Earth, millions of years old, millions of earths and millions of stars, amongst innumerable galaxies, I sit on her generous lap with 8 billion others, my siblings. Against the vastness of the unknown, I stand small within a dot of the map. I wasn't here 60 years back. I won't be here 60 years hence. There were no thunders that awaited my coming. There won't be any when I go. Of the billions who throng the earth, a few thousands would know. A few hundred would grieve. A few would find it hard to live. The grief and pain would lessen with time. In a year or so, the world would cease to know. Thus is the journey of a common man who's important to himself and no one else. In this backdrop, we have to recognize that in this small journey in the infinite, we do it for ourselves. And I am often reminded of 1979-80, when I had the privilege, absolute privilege, to meet Mother Teresa. I was born and brought up in Calcutta, so it wasn't at that point of time a big deal to meet her. I was the secretary of the St. Xavier's College, and we did a fundraising called Usha Sings for Mother Teresa. Usha Iyer that time, later became Usha Uthup. She sang for us, and we raised 150,000 rupees in 1980 as an 18 or 19-year-old. I was proud to present the check along with 2 other colleagues to mother. And she, in her classical Calcutta Bengali style, touched our head, which seemed like electricity passing through the head. For a non-believer 18-year-old, I was very surprised, pleasantly so. And then she said the magical words, "Children, you're blessed. You're blessed because you have a chance to serve." And then she said something which took me an extra 20 or 30 years to understand. And she said, "But do not forget to thank those who give you the privilege." And I think that is the absolute key to the journey of all of us together. I'm privileged that I'm with such well-meaning, socially motivated people as all of you who have invariably done amazing stuff in life for society. But I'm here to share just a few common experiences I'm sure all of you would have felt in some way or the other. When I talk about change, and it's an education that all of us go through, and I'm also in the midst of it, I think change starts not from big, but from small. And it starts from around us, not from a round table or a Rotary or another meeting. If it has to start somewhere else, then there's already much to do. It starts, and I remember there's this example from the famous Chicken Soup for the Soul about the gentleman walking on the beach throwing shellfish back during low tide, and somebody said, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm saving these shellfishes." And he says, "There are millions, and what impact will you make?" And he kept on picking and threw another one back into the water. And he said, "It made an impact for this one." And I think that is the story that needs to be part of our life, and I'm sure it is. Whether it is the maid at home whom you're supporting to help her aspirational son who wants to be an engineer, or it's the specially able child of a driver, or it's one of your employees who's going through troubled times. If that's the beginning of your journey to make a difference, you have already started big. But if it's too small to grab your attention, then it's time to pause and reflect on where the journey really needs to start. Having said this, and repeating what all of you know, I just want to share a few, probably just 2 stories from my own life where I reflect with some satisfaction. One is from my own personal life, and the second is from a socially impactful experience. On the personal front, like many of us, I was from a lower middle class family and was lucky enough to be admitted to an MBA school very early up in 1981, 82 to Chicago. I'd never been out of my country and had no money. So had to take a lot of loans and friendly support, and did finally manage to complete my master's. And then I had a possible admission into PhD to go to Indiana Bloomington with full scholar or with partial scholarship to the great corridors of Harvard for doing a DBA. And I said to myself, I'm 22, the youngest student in my class. And I said, if I stay here, I don't think I'll have the courage to go back. But I was from Calcutta. I was born and brought up there. So I had this jhola mentality of having a kurta and a jhola, and socially the mindset of a rebel. And I'm actually proud of that. I had some of it. And I said, I should go back to my country and do something to create jobs. And as somebody who had a negative balance sheet of 200,000 rupees, that was a huge amount of money in 1981, 82. I said, I will create 500 jobs, mission for my life. And I came back and I started with a $50,000 project for which I had to really jump around in 3-tier trains from Hyderabad to Calcutta. I knew nobody there. Long story short, and by the way, I had a backup plan like every smart Indian. If I fail in this endeavor of reaching at least $1 or $2 million in the next 5 to 7 years, then I will go back, do my PhD, and teach people how to do business. That was my grand plan. Either I succeed and continue to do business, or fail and then teach how to do business. Thankfully, in 5 to 7 years, I got where I wanted to be, and the needle kept moving, tough, up, down. But by 93, 94, I had my 500 employees, and I was really very thrilled. And today, with nearly direct and indirect employment of over 3,000 people, when I look back, I see the journey as well-meaning, because the sole reason for this journey was not P&L, not my personal wealth, not what I would do with it, but was to create employment. And I have to quote one of my friends, who's my self-appointed mentor, as I often call him, G.V. Prasad. He's the chairman of Dr. Reddy's, a very dear friend who often taps me on the head whenever he sees me flaying here or there. He says, Vagish, in business, for those who follow money, so Hindi में कहते हैं कि लक्ष्मी चंचल होती हैं. She will keep ahead of you. You will never reach her. But those who are looking for a larger mission, Lakshmi will automatically press. So I think the larger mission has to be connected with the society. There was an earlier comment about whether it's sustainability, environment related, whatever moves the needle. Remember, after you're dead, nobody would care. So whatever you do, it's for yourself. It's for myself. So let's make a difference. So in terms of business, I tell you, we were one of the first to have a COVID hero ceremony last year, much ahead of when Reliance was cutting people. I'm giving an example which was in public domain. By the way, I have a great relationship with them and I don't want to upset them because they are a great partner for us in plastics. But they were announcing cutbacks as many other people did. And we said, we will not cut back. Not one job. Till we become really at the risk of insolvency, we will continue to work. And we awarded half our employees for their courage and their enormity of work ethics. And I can tell you, we have been really finding people have been very thankful for this. And during this period, we've gone through some of our biggest expansions, including 50% increase in women ratio of working through diversity and inclusion programs. And I can tell you, any amount of P&L doesn't give you the high when you look back and see smiling faces from very trying families looking up and saying, wow, this is my journey along with you. So this is a small story that you will find repeated many times. Was it easy? Answer is no. It took me 25, 30 years. And I am now in CII trying very much that these are replicated, the models like dual education. We've just launched with the government of Austria and government of Telangana, making a difference in the life of 20 kids. And hopefully it'll be 200,000 in the next 15 years or 10 years who will actually contribute to manufacturing strategies. Moving a little bit towards service. So Ram, myself, Girish, we were part of Roundtable. We had a lot of fun, and I mean, it would be embarrassing to share how much fun we had. But trust me, within the gamut of acceptable behavior, we really touched the limits, and we are family. There again, through the journey in 86 to 98, when I had the privilege of being president, I mean, this was their joke on me as a sergeant. Let's get a sergeant to be president. And so when I took over, I said, you know, every year we have themes. Every year we do stuff. One year we are an electrical engineer. The next year we are a carpenter. The third year we are a dentist. How can we do this? And so I said, in the field of social enterprise, we have to be as professional as for-profit, except that our impact has to be non-profit. So the results go into building the society. So we decided to work on what is the best possible avenue for our limited resources. I will spare you the details, but we came up with the deduction that education was the area. The mother would have been the first point to reach. And that's where we wanted to go into microcredit, but we didn't have distinctive competence in 1997. So we chose the next level, which was education for primary education for kids. Today, so we aimed for 1 million children in 5 years, and today we have gone through 8 to 10 million children. And and this has been possible by a huge journey. And I want to share what were the differentiating features of this journey amongst many other wannabe projects for long term, which fail in many organizations. The first element of the journey was when we started, we worked very hard to make sure nobody has a clue whose idea it was. This was super important because whenever there's a collective wisdom of 20 on a board representing 4,000 or 3,000 members, nobody wants a Ram Sheshu project or a Vagish Dikshit project or a Girish project. They want a project of Rotary. They want a project of Roundtable. They want a project of Bharatvarsh, not a project associated with a name. And this is not easy. So, of course, when I was president and I released this theme, I had the privilege as a child with a toy that I had named it. But I swore to myself and the 3-4 who knew this, that this story will remain with us till necessary. And we only publicly acknowledged the roots of the name after 16 years, because then it became necessary to say this story to inspire the next generation. And during this period, I remember somebody wanted to print a brochure. I mean, I'm talking about simple stuff that all of us face in our clubs. Print a brochure of freedom through education. They said, well, the project lead convener's name should be there. You are Mr. President, sir. Your name should be there so that people know who's behind. And I said, no. We are printing 10,000 brochures. They will be wasted. So let's just put the secretariat address and nothing else, so that next year, if we need to use these brochures, they can still be used. And of course, people understand whom they need to get in touch. For a moment, I did not say, I don't want my name there. It is not fair. It is not nice. Because when you try to act vain, when you try to act humble, that is also an act of trying to sound above others. So to try to stay humble is a full-time job. And you need to work with absolutely complete energy, and you need to believe in it. I would go to many clubs, hundreds of clubs all over India, and they would say, Mr. President, for your project, I said, stop. This is not my project. This year, you have a lazy president who doesn't want any project by himself. This year, we announce a project for Roundtable India. And since I can see the next 5 would be equally lazy, so we have decided we will not do anything associated with ourselves. We will keep one and we will keep massaging it. And I tell you, when you start a trickle, the trickle becomes a flow, and the flow becomes a river, and a river will finally become an ocean. And this is a journey. So Girish was part of this journey a few years down the line when I was president. And the beauty is, even though we were connected with a few years of gap, the urgency that he exhibited for this mission was not an ounce lesser than the energy or urgency that I did. And I tell you why I finally told this story officially. It was only 5-6 years back when I was at Calcutta in ITC, in Calcutta, and I was seeing a lot of roundtablers because I can see. Okay, I get a hint. Somebody has muted me, but doesn't matter. So I was in ITC, and I saw a lot of roundtablers sitting there, getting very excited. And I said, "What's going on?" "Oh, we are from Roundtable, and we are doing service through fellowship." I said, "Oh, very good." Of course, none of them knew me, and I said, "Very good. And what are you doing?" "Oh, sir, we have a project called Freedom Through Education, and we teach children primary education, and it's going on." And blah, blah, blah. And then somebody who knew me came, and we landed up having a conversation. It was then I realized there's a need. And after that, they published a coffee book. And I can tell you, there's so much pride that all of us share, who were the absolutely unsung heroes of this project. Only now, some people talked about it, and I said, enough. We are only happy when we see around 8,000 to 10,000 schools. So when I come back, I have to take the same story that if we have to build an edifice, then we have to be what Ram Vriksha Benipuri, a poet who was one of the biggest Hindi literature poets, said, "Neev ki eat." You know, you have to be in the neev, in the base foundation of the building, and you don't have to be the paint on the top. So I believe if we are the neev ki eat, then our big plans, however long they may take, will fructify. And if we have no personal stake in terms of I, me, myself, then we don't even get particularly perturbed, because we know that if it's a win for all. And for Christ's sake, if it's a loss, it's not mine alone as well, even though we would feel hurt. To complete my conversation, I often have the habit of using some poetry, Hindi poetry, if you would permit me. And this comes from Ramdhari Singh Dinkar, who was a national poet long back. And for those who don't understand Hindi as fluently, I'm happy to translate, and I'll use only 4 lines. Jindagi wahin tak nahi, dhwaja jis jagah vigat yug ne gaadi. So Jindagi wahin tak nahi, dhwaja is flag, vigat yug means the older yug. Jindagi wahin tak nahi, dhwaja jis jagah vigat yug ne gaadi. Malum kisi ko nahi, anagat nar ki duvidhaएं सारी. Nobody knows the problems of the future generations. Sara जीवन नप चुका, कहे जो वह दास्ता प्रचारक है. Those who say that the whole world is measured, we know everything, they are only professing dasta. You know, it's really the mind is under shackles. Nar ke vivek ka shatru, manuj ki medha ka sangharak hai. They are against the thought processes of mind and against the capabilities of human beings. So, in conclusion, let's continue to relish the sense of being alive, the sense of breathing every moment, especially in this COVID environment, the sense that we can actually do something and relish it by doing it, because at the end, the last moment, if we have the privilege of even reflecting, because I have no idea of how people die, and when I know, it will be too late to share it. But I guess if we have a chance to reflect few minutes before we die, I don't think we are going to remember our balance sheets. I don't think I'm saying something new, but we will remember, you know what? I put a smile on a lot of people's face. You know what? I made a difference to some. And that's all. That's all. That is enough to die with a smile on the face. So with this, I thank you. And I see my watch tickling at 21 minutes. I'm 1 minute over time. So thank you very much for this privilege. And once again, Girish and your team, the very best of luck for the year. I have no doubt you will do amazing things as you've always done since I've known you. Thank you very much.